Welcome back to None of Your Beeswax Apiary. As you can see, today's a really rainy day. See in the beginning opening video, we've got the hive strapped down. We're expecting some strong storms and high winds a little bit later today, so we strapped the hives down in case something gets blown over. That way the boxes don't come apart. So today I just wanted to take the time and explain the different types of feeders that we use here and why we use them. We use all hive top feeders, as I previously mentioned in the video. We did a few weeks ago showing how we made one type of them, and then we did another video showing swapping over from our winter feeders to the liquid syrup feeders here. So I just kind of wanted to explain the different types that we use, why we use them, and the purpose from each. There's many different types out there, not just the hive top feeders. There's feeders that you put in the front of the hive. There's feeders that go inside the hive. I don't particularly like the ones in the front of the hive because I think that induces robbing, because you're putting it right there in the front to attract other bees. The in-hive feeders, for me personally, I don't like, because you have to open up the hive and get into where the bees are in order to refill them and stuff. And with the hive top feeders, all I wear is a veil usually, sometimes not even that, but only a veil just in case there's bees flying around. And you can go ahead and you can access where you can put the sugar syrup. You're not accessing the bees, so you don't have to worry about dressing out in your full suit and stuff like that. So the first type of feeder that we started with was this type right here. It's basically a shallow box modified a little bit to hold an aluminum pan that you use for baking, and it's got the ladder here with wire mesh that the bees get down and access the syrup. The way that is set up on the underneath side is this whole part's covered up, and the bees can access the syrup through this little opening right here. They climb down the ladder mesh into the syrup, drink the syrup, and go back. This one is good for feeding a lot of bees at the same time. If you're trying to build up the colony for winter, we use it for that. We also use it for new nukes, trying to get them to draw out wax, trying to get them to put on weight for the winter and stuff like that. It's not real good if you've got a colony that you're just trying to supplement, because they'll take a lot of sugar syrup in a short amount of time, and they could wind up plugging out the brood chamber and filling it all with sugar syrup and no room for the queen to lay, and that'll induce swarming. So you have to be careful about using these. I've had hives take one of these containers down in a day, and that holds just a little under a half a gallon. So I've had them drain it empty in a day, especially for a new nuke, a new split starting out, where you're trying to get them to draw wax and trying to get them to put on weight and stuff like that. So you've got to be very careful using these, but we do like using these in the early spring for build up for our nukes and stuff like that. The second type that we use is a similar design. It's a shallow box, but it's got a plastic tub in it, and the screen that the bees access is right up here in the center. So you can see on the bottom here, the plastic tub's all molded in one piece. It's fit into the shallow super, and the bees access through this center part right here, get up into the screen, and can drink the sugar syrup. This one's good, the same as that one, for feeding bees a lot real fast at one time. We use these on some of our other yards that we don't have here at the house, where we can't check them as frequently. This will hold about 2 gallons of syrup in it, so we can put a lot of syrup in it, leave them for a few days, and not have to come back and check them every day. So this is a very good one for out yards and stuff like that. So what we do with both of these is then you take the feeder, set it right on top of your top brood chamber. That way it isolates the bees from accessing the sugar syrup, except for this ladder right there. And then we run an inner cover, and then we set the inner cover right on top of that, and then our outer cover. One thing you have to be careful of if you run an inner cover with these is, number one, making sure that this notch right here is facing up. You don't want it facing down, because that will give your bees access to the sugar syrup. They'll get into the pan and they'll all drown. We've had that happen a couple times. I accidentally put this upside down, and you pull it open the next day and there's 100 dead bees in there because they've gotten the sugar syrup and drowned. The other thing is, most of these inner covers come with this hole open, so that you can just set a bucket on top and feed through a bucket and things like that. I cover these with a screen mesh right here to keep the bees from accessing this hole. It's a little modification we made. We just cut out some mesh, glue it down here with pipe bond glue, and it keeps the bees from being able to access this. Again, if you don't cover this hole, or you don't cover it with a small enough mesh, the bees will climb up through, go through here, even if you have this notch upside down, they'll still be able to access the syrup. So that's something to pay attention on both of those types of hive feeders right there, because if you don't have that sealed off, the bees will get into the sugar syrup and they will die and drown in the sugar syrup. The third type of feeder we had was the one we had a video of us making, and that's the jar feeder. What I did here is took some scrap lumber. I'll leave a link to the video below so you can see us making these, and basically cut out holes to put 2 jar feeders in here. You can get these lids that have the holes already pre-punched in them, or you can do it yourself. Just a really small hole, just enough for the bees to access the syrup, and you fill it with syrup, turn it upside down. It's a slow feeder. We use these when we're trying to get the bees to draw out comb. We don't want them to plug the brood chamber with syrup, so if it's a really strong hive, you're just trying to supplement feed them to get them through until the honey flow starts, or you're just trying to encourage them to draw out comb. We use these a lot. The best way to get them to draw out comb is to use less than 1-to-1 sugar syrup. A really thin syrup will encourage them to draw out comb a little bit faster. So the way these work is they still sit on top of the upper brood chamber. You take your jar, fill it with your sugar syrup, invert it on there, and then the bees can access the sugar syrup from below, and it works on the vacuum system. As the bees draw it down, it doesn't actually drip down onto the bees. The bees drink it a little bit more drips down, and they can feed them this way. With this one, you also have to have another box surrounding this, otherwise this will be exposed. You can't just put an inner cover over top, so we take a medium super, put a medium super around this, and then we put our inner cover and then our outer cover. With this setup, it's not so critical on getting that inner cover right, because if the bees access it, they're just going to be in this box up here. They don't have access to anything to drown, but it's kind of an inconvenience, again, because with this one, the advantage is you can refill these without accessing the bees and having to worry about being dressed out. So keep that inner cover on, keep the bees out of the box right here. It makes it a whole lot easier to get in there and feed your bees. And so that's it. That's the types of feeders that we use here. If you're handy, you can make these first 2 yourself. Just save yourself a few bucks and make these. The third one there with the plastic tub, you do have to buy that. You can use a shallow super if you've got it, but I'll leave the link below again for showing us how we make these. These are really simple, really cheap, really good to use. And be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, leave comments down below and we'll be sure to answer those. And follow us, and we'll be making some more videos here shortly. We'll be able to get in the hives probably within the next week or so. The Formic Pro treatment is due to come out next Friday, and then we'll go back and take a look at the other hive that we put the brood boxes on, trying to get them to draw out comb. We'll show you how much comb they've drawn out here in the last 3 weeks. And then pretty soon here in about a week or 2, we're going to start making our splits. So we'll do some videos with those things. Thank you.